Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at some of the changes and accelerated trends that are taking place in the economy as a result of COVID. As such, this video is going to be slightly different to the usual content that I produce and can be thought of as more of a thought experiment, so let your opinions be known in the comments below. Anyway, that's enough of an introduction, so let's jump into it. With 2021 having finally arrived, most of us have now realized that the changing of the year hasn't brought a return to normal life, unfortunately. Many of you will have adapted to the changes that have been made by your employers to ensure that work is done and everyone is somewhat happy, assuming you haven't all just graduated and, find yourself between a rock and an unstoppable object. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at the impact that some of these changes have been having on the economy and try to paint a picture of what the economy of tomorrow might look like. Welcome to the post-COVID economy. Back in February of 2020, when the world was learning about this fascinating Chinese city called Wuhan, many workers experienced their last weeks working 5 days in the office. Since then, many people have been working from home, and the emergence of a blended working week has come about, in which workers spend perhaps 3 days working from home and 2 days working from the office. This new normal has been welcomed by employees and employers alike, in part because it was forced, but also because some employees find the notion of having to be in the office 5 days a week unnecessary in the first place. But it does depend on what job and position someone holds. This change in location has meant that many people have found themselves investing in home office equipment, a comfortable chair, fancy keyboard, or some LED lights that make your desk look like a DJ set and have no positive impact on your productivity. This wave of investment has made arrangements between employers and employees to share the costs and benefits of home-based work models more commonplace, and in some cases it has increased employee morale. The impact of this blended model of work, however, does have severe consequences for others. First of all, it means that fewer people are commuting to work every day. That translates into fewer people on those crowded metro carriages and highways. In cities with well-developed public transport systems, like Paris, Madrid, New York City, and Singapore, this means that the transport authorities have seen an incredible fall in revenue. A fall that may not return to pre-COVID levels for a long time, if at all. Another group of employees who find themselves in the crosshairs of the COVID onslaught are those working in food stores in various business districts. With fewer workers in the nearby offices, many small food stores that provide lunches for the big city bankers, sales representatives, and Instagram influencers have found themselves out of work. However, post-COVID, we could potentially see a repurposing of city office space to allow for it to run close to its former capacity, which would revive many of these food store jobs, potentially. With all that said though, the idea of a blended work week or even jobs being completely remote is now a scenario that could become a reality for a larger part of the workforce in the future. This means more communication through chat platforms and video conferencing, and potentially higher demand for food delivery services around lunch hours in residential areas. However, the vast majority of us won't all be packing our bags to do our jobs from the Caribbean, but the fact that many employees and employers have been forced into this remote job situation increases the likelihood that in some professions it will be more accepted within business culture. A trend that had been well on its way to becoming the norm way before COVID came in with a wrecking ball was the tendency to shop online. Now, most of you watching this video have probably all shopped online at some point, perhaps to buy a book, a phone charger, or one of those fidget spinners. However, there are certain products that people tend to refrain from purchasing online, such as groceries. Now, during the great COVID onslaught of 2020, a greater number of people have begun experimenting with online shopping for groceries, with various degrees of success. And whether or not people have found a functioning website to place their order though, this approach to grocery shopping online has made a small societal change. That's to say, it's become more socially acceptable. This accelerated trend could have quite an impact on how our cities and economies work. For example, we could see this current demand in delivery services stick around, as many jobs that were previously conducted in supermarkets are moving to warehouses, where the shelf stackers of the past become the bag packers of tomorrow, or this job could even be partially passed on to robots who execute the shopper's order. This change would accelerate the reduction in some existing brick-and-mortar stores, most likely stores that only offer a product and not an experience. If this is to be the case, we might find that our high streets are more focused on bars, restaurants and gyms, things for which you have to be there to experience, rather than clothes stores, stationery stores and bank branches. As mentioned before, this isn't exactly a new trend, but with large parts of the population experimenting with shopping online for groceries, it might just be the case that this transition has been accelerated by a number of years and will most likely be part of the post-COVID economy. E-commerce, though, is not the only area of the economy that has seen a rapid acceleration as part of a long-term trend. Another area is that of education. Now, assuming you got out of the education system before it crumbled under the weight of Teams calls and Zoom conferences, you might have felt like you escaped the show that has been online education. Well, this may be the case for you individually, but it certainly isn't the case for many looking to skill up, either as part of their job or just to explore their other interests. Now, it's worth pointing out here that secondary education is less likely to be directly impacted by this digitalization phase. Although some teaching may be pushed through educational websites, there is little to no reason to expect that, say, 50% of high school students will be finding out why Pythagoras was such a legend or why mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell from their bedroom. Most likely, the digitalization of education will have more of an impact on certain post-secondary education models, perhaps creating a more hybrid approach to education. Let me explain. When people finish their secondary or tertiary education, some manage to land a job as soon as they come onto the labour market, perhaps with an internship or an entry-level position. In this position, many people find themselves being trained up by the company that has hired them to ensure that they can be of value in the industry in which the company works. This sometimes requires training with certain software, like Microsoft Excel or Python, and in other times it requires more specific training that needs to be done in person around the building in which the company operates. Now, not all of this training can be done online, and that training is not the objective of this growing area of the education industry. However, some of the transferable skills that can be acquired online, such as the knowledge of various software, can be achieved through online courses and assignments. And this is an area that is seeing significant growth. These courses, often called MOOCs, massive open online courses, have been rapidly growing over the last 5 years. And with COVID restrictions having driven many to try them for the first time, this could potentially see them be further developed and eventually carry more weight in the future. With employers turning to colleges and universities to develop these micro-credentials, they may offer students and workers alike another way to demonstrate their skills and interests in a certain area, and may make the difference when facing that future job interview or just improving their productivity. However, it's worth pointing out that these micro-credentials are not expected to replace degrees and courses from universities and colleges, but rather act as a complementary course to illustrate knowledge as well as provide sector-specific skills. Last year was definitely very challenging for most of us. Companies have been struggling to stay afloat, many aspects of how our economy works have been interrupted, and the list goes on, way beyond the topics addressed in this video. With the COVID economy still very likely to stick around with us for a good while longer after this video goes out, we might see some of the trends addressed in this video solidify and be part of the post-COVID economy. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video here on the Economics in Action channel. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this was more of a thought experiment and I'd like to hear what you think will change in the post-COVID economy. by writing down your opinions and ideas in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, and take care. Bye.